I'm Lisa Hirmer, and I'm here doing a project called Rehearsals in Co-Sufficiency, and the subtitle is Plant Tenders and Other Future Currencies. If we think of some of these aesthetics or narratives around, building a bunker and being self-sufficient and kind of, separating yourself from society and collapse, there's a very particular ideology in that. So even though preparing for some kind of disruption to all these systems on which we depend is probably a very worthwhile endeavor and a good idea, there's kind of this heavy ideological baggage that gets dragged along with that in a lot of instances. And so this project is both about trying to unpack that, but also resist that. Because what actually tends to happen in disasters is people coming together in sort of these spontaneous arrangements of mutual aid where people share resources and help each other. If we think about preparing for the future, as we invest in those futures, I think we kind of contribute to them coming true. So if you think about, imagining, that you're going to have to defend your resources against everybody else, that doesn't do good things for relationships in the present. I would argue it does as much to cause disasters as it does to prepare you for them. That thinking starts to leak into other areas of life. And so not only do I think it's important that we think about disasters or disruptions in order to prepare ourselves for them, but it's also a way of how we imagine our present. This project embraces that idea and asks people to sort of think about the future and preparing for it differently. And it uses plants as a way of doing that. So if you think about taking care of a plant now, then that's a way of transmitting that care into the future. So you take care of a plant now, that plant would take care of you or maybe somebody else in the future, and at different time scales. So it might be a short-term thing, but it could also be something we do now helps future generations. And just using that really simple idea to really resist those narratives. There's two parts to the project. The first one happening here this week is a survey that students do, and like a lot of my surveys, it's sort of a conversational and thinking tool. The results matter, but it's also about the process of doing it. So it's asking students to pick what plants they would want to be on campus if there were some kind of disaster or disruption. And so that's sort of a way of tapping into those ideas I was talking earlier. So people are voting on those plants, and then the second half of the project will be taking sort of the top votes and bringing those plants onto campus and working together with the university and also a team of people willing to take care of those plants to have those around. And so to continue that conversation and start to build networks around this idea. I think Dodolab often kind of uses these aesthetic tools of branding or public opinion work, but makes them a little bit funny. And so, if you do a survey, you get these little buttons, and each one has one of the plants on them. And so that kind of propagates sort of this project imagery or idea out past the project and kind of sticks around longer. And it's just one of those ways of kind of subverting those things and using them to draw out more complexity rather than some kind of consensus idea. I think if we think about preparing for the future, it isn't just a material and sort of technocratic thing that we have to do. We also have to think about how do you build networks of people who you could turn to or who would know how to help you or where you are. So where are people who might need more help? And so the idea behind these plants that we'll bring to campus is also assembling this group of people who will take care of them and about kind of building this network that is just as important for preparing as just having food lying around and so on.